Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and it's a pleasure to talk about the topic. Actually, it seems it's a bit different, but it's actually related to today's lecture. My name is Marianna Salzillo. I work as a brand manager for SinoDrink. Just to tell you a bit about the company, SinoDrink is an Italian wine specialist, so our company imports and distributes Italian wine, but actually our mission is to take Italian culture and Italian lifestyle here in China. SinoDrink is part of a bigger group because we are a daughter company of Genagricola. That is one of the biggest agricultural group that we have in Italy, that it's actually part of Generali Insurance. So SinoDrink actually has at the moment more than 40 different wineries coming from like all region of Italy, and our office is based in Shanghai, but we have branch office around China. So today I choose to talk about one of our winery that is actually coming from my hometown, from Campania, so I'm always really happy to actually talk about this winery. The name of the winery is Feudi di San Gregorio, so we are in the south of Italy, in Campania. If you actually guys have been to Italy, if you have been to Campania, to let you understand when we are, it's actually super close to Paestum, to Amalfi, to Capri, to the Vesuvio, and the biggest city is actually Napoli. So why talking about Feudi di San Gregorio? Because actually in this year, in the latest years, Feudi di San Gregorio became an icon of the modern Italian winemaking. The motto, the slogan of Feudi di San Gregorio is bring ancient wines into the future. So actually let's see how is actually doing this, because we are going to think you're talking about wine, how is actually related to the topic of today. So let's first say, like in Campania here, we have like a really particular environment that is actually really suitable for the winemaking, because in one side, as we saw before, we have the Mediterranean Sea, and inside we have also the mountain, and we have also the Vesuvium. So it's a volcanic mountain, and this is like a big help for the terroir, because you're gonna have, like in the wine, you're gonna find a lot of minerality, a lot of saltiness. So actually the wines coming from Campania are really different from other regions. Maybe we can compare it a bit to Sicilian wine. Feudi di San Gregorio was founded in 1986 in Sorbo Serpico. We are basically in Irpinia. We are in the mountain side, and at the beginning, this winery was actually pretty traditional, so they choose to use always grape from Campania. So we are talking about Aglianico, Greco, Falanghina, Fiano. Many of you maybe never tried this wine, but actually they're super nice, really interesting. And what did they do? They actually know that the Campania wine had a really big potential, but maybe not so many people know them. So they decide to focus on quality, design, and innovation. Basically, their strategy, it's like to combine to protect, first of all, what's the Campania grape, so still staying traditional, but using like a lot of innovating technique, a lot of ultra-modern wine technique, and also still researching new style, but at the same time protecting the environment. So we have like also organic viticulture, and to use the design to sell better this product. So actually this winery at the moment is famous in all the world, and every year is producing and selling more than 3.5 million bottles in 50 different countries, and it's like so famous, so successful, they actually became a case study in a lot of MBA programs. So it's actually mentioned in by different universities. So let's see. About the name, Feudi di San Gregorio, is actually really interesting because Gregorio actually recalls the connection that there was between the church and winemaking history in Italy. Why? Because actually the area where the winery is in the past was part of the land of the church. So the wine in this area is being produced by Roman time, so since long time. On the side, if we take a look to the label, this is basically the label of Feudi di San Gregorio. In a bit, we're going to see a bit more about it because it's really related to design. But anyway, it's actually representing mosaic coming from a Byzantine mausoleo. It's called Mausoleo di Galla Placida, that is located in Ravenna. And And this mosaic were realized in the 5th century, and they are part of the UNESCO World Heritage List since 1996. So when we talk about Feudi di San Gregorio, we can use 3 different words. We can talk about leadership. Why? Because it's actually the first winery in the south of Italy. It's between the top 5 wineries brands in Italy and between top 10 Italian wineries for specialized press. Innovation, why? Because they have like a really contemporary style and image. We can see it from a bottle, from the label, and it's the first Italian winery to actually buy more wineries in the north of Italy, because actually they have more wineries also in Tuscany, in Bulgaria area. And they use a lot of innovative project and development strategy, like totally different from the traditional approach that usually we have in the south. And they use design, architecture, and art to sell much better what's their wine and what's the brand. They also organize a lot of activities with leading brands, with the museum, with the press company. Respect, because at the same time they take care of the environment. So first of all, they still respect what's the tradition of the Campania grape, what's the tradition of the family value, because it's a family-owned winery, and they also take care of the grape they're coming from Campania. So usually they prefer to use native grape instead of international grape. So, going a bit closer to the topic of today, for Feudi di San Gregorio, a bottle of wine is actually considered as a artwork. Why? Because if we think about it, like when you cultivate wine, you need to have a lot of passion while you are cultivate the vines and when you are actually taking care of the grapes. And then you also need a lot of patience when you are waiting for the wine to get to the perfect point, to the aging point. So it's actually the same process that an artist make when he's creating his own work. So they think that there is like a really close relationship between the world of art and the world of winemaking. That's why they decided to make a lot of collaboration, a lot of partnership with famous designer and artists. A few of them actually were also mentioned in the previous conversation. So they were talking about Fabio Novembre. Of course, I think you heard about Massimo Vignelli. And then there is also some other architecture coming from abroad. Ikaru Mori, that actually is married with Maurizio Zido, that is from Irpinia, so it's from Campania area. So not just design and architect, as I was saying before, they also have a lot of co-marketing events and initiative with the design brands, with moda brands, and also with museum. So let's see a few interesting collaboration with Massimo Vignelli, that is an Italian designer that was living in New York. We can say was one of the greatest designers of this time. He worked in different kind of areas and with different big brands. He was displayed at MoMA, in other museums. He was basically also the one creating the subway map of New York. So he's actually pretty famous. Since 2001, he was the genius taking care of the label of Feudi di San Gregorio. As you're going to see in the next picture, you can see something here, but the next one is much clearer. The bottle of the Feudi di San Gregorio has a different shape, really modern, a bit different from the bottle that you usually see. The label is really, really small, so it's not invasive. It's not going to cover all the bottle. It's going to look totally different from the traditional Italian label. And most of them are going to actually represent the mosaic that we saw before, or like some really colorful art piece. So it's going to be really related and close to art. We can see this is the line from Campania. That is the most famous one, and as I was saying, is basically representing the mosaic coming from the Byzantine Mausoleum. So it's like a really special label, like maybe like totally different from the Italian classical one. Talking about Novembre, the collaboration with Novembre was really, really interesting because, like as I was saying, this is like a really, as also Stefano was saying before, it's a really creative designer. His works are like totally different from the classical one. So Feudi di San Gregorio decided to work with Novembre for a limited edition that is actually Also interesting what's inside the bottle, because it's Spumante Metodo Classico. It's the first one in Campania, where Campania grape, as a Ianico, Falanghina, Fiano, were used to make Spumante Metodo Classico. What does it mean? It's basically the same method that you use for champagne. So it's like you're drinking a champagne from the south of Italy. We cannot call it champagne because we're not in France, but it's basically the same thing. So what did he do? He actually he took inspiration from the name, Feudi di San Gregorio. So he thought about Gregorio the Pope, and he thought about the tiara. The tiara is basically the hat that the Pope is wearing. So for the creation of this line, this bottle, he reproduced the 3 bands that you see in the Pope tiara. So that's what you see in the bottle and also in the box outside. And then realize also some other POS material like ice buckets, some bags for gift. So it's actually a really interesting line. Then also the winery, so not just the product, but Feudo di San Gregorio decided to make his own winery, an architectural work. So actually there was a persistent structure in the place. They decided to reuse it and to make it more useful, more beautiful, at the same time also like to take care of the environment. So they called for the inside of the winery for the design, Massimo Vignelli and his wife Lela Vignelli. They take care of the interiors, and then outside they called the Japanese architect Hikaru Mori, that, as I was saying, is actually married with Maurizio Zito, that is from Irpinia. So actually this project was exhibited twice alla Biennale di Venezia, Venice Biennale. We can see a few more pictures of the winery. And that's inside of the winery, because at the center of the winery there is the restaurant. There is a Michelin star, and it's called Marianna. Marianna is not just a restaurant, it's considered a real laboratory where actually they present to the customer the wine, the food, the wine pairing, and they're working on a special line that it's called Feudi Study that we're gonna have here in China in a few months. Really interesting is that during COVID, Feudi di San Gregorio really cares about the relationship with the customers. So really during COVID was not possible for the customer to go to the restaurant, to go to the winery. So they did a lot of masterclass and tasting online. Of course, it's not as good as having the wine and go to the winery, but that was like a really nice solution. So they also are really innovative also on this side, because they have like a really strong connection on the social media with the customers, and all the line of Feudi di San Gregorio can be found online. So if we visit their website or Instagram, of course they are more like European American oriented. We are working also on the Chinese side, but yeah, they're really present online. We can see a few more pictures of the inside of the restaurant. It is actually really beautiful, really interested, and at the same time is actually also really ecological. So it's listed also in the eco boutique restaurant hotels in Italy. So yeah, that was basically my topic of today. If you want to know a bit more about Feudi di San Gregorio, we can add a WeChat, or if you want to discover a bit more the wine, we can also talk about the wine. It's going to be a pleasure for me. Thank you so much. That's all for today.